Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the Musketeers of Media podcast. And I am the Toad, or also known as Andrew. And then we have Eli. And then we have a special guest with us. It's my mother.
Woohoo! Hello, my name is April.
Yeah, and so we've had Eli's mom on a few episodes, and so now we wanted to bring my mom on to the podcast for a pretty special episode, I would say. I think so. I definitely think so. So this episode we are talking about Jason Alden, Lizzo, and something that had happened about a month ago on the Teachers Off Duty podcast. It was something that me and Eli and my mom can all relate to. Me and Eli were students growing up in the modern public school education system with IEPs. Yeah, that's what they were called. Yeah, in place. And they are, I don't remember what, independent education plans? Program. So, what that is it's just a program that kind of helps students who have a little harder time like understanding things or comprehending things, or just like I guess just some people with a disability. So one thing that, like, if you guys haven't seen it, I would go check it out. Like, the clip that we're talking about is them referring to people with IEPs as DUMB, as like there's a spectrum to being on this independent education plan or program, and there's really not. You're either on it or you're not. I don't know that there's a spectrum. I don't think it's like, I think it's a lot like
It just qualifies per class type.
right. And so it's not you're like 90% IEP and you're like 80%. It's
No.
like you're on it for this class. And then
or this, and this class.
Right. Okay. So, at least when I was growing up, I did not fully understand what an IEP was. I just knew I had it, and I had to, I just had to go somewhere else when it came to specific subjects. I think mine were math and reading, I want to say. Yeah. So, in math and reading, I would go somewhere else and somebody would read something to me. So, I guess this is something that we can all kind of like bring a little input into. We can talk about like stories about that. And my mom has had four kids who went through the I went through a modern. Would you say my siblings, would they be considered modern or more?
They're from the 90s, so they had the plans in the 90s and early 2000s.
So you'd consider it okay. And so she had four kids in the modern public school education with IEPs. So she 100% like understands what it means to be a parent with this, like who has this, is under this plan, the program. And then me and Eli are two students who went through the entire school process with IEPs. And who wants to start out with, like, I wouldn't say horror stories, but like just in specific things they wanted to talk about with this? Because I can start it out.
Sure.
Okay. So, if I'm being very honest, I didn't fully, like I said, I didn't fully understand what it meant. So I didn't understand that I was different from other people. I just went somewhere else with a group of people who I didn't know. I didn't know a ton of kids when I was in like elementary school, because that's when it really started. Elementary school and pre-middle school was really when it I guess when it came to the point where they actually physically removed me from the class rather than bringing a teacher in, because anything before, like, I think it was fifth grade, they would have somebody come into the classroom and specifically like help me or help this student out, and we would be the only people who got this. So when it came to I guess fifth grade, it was kind of weird because I was taken out and almost looked at as different, and the teachers who taught in the IEP program were not necessarily like bad teachers, and they did teach us, or like they did make us feel as equals, and they made us feel special, but in a good way, not in a bad way. I don't think I've ever had a situation where I didn't like an IEP teacher, like specifically one that was specific for that. But when it comes to like teachers who taught the entire class, I can definitely say there were a few times where I think back and I'm like, oh, they were just being like an ass. Like they were just discriminating against me because I wasn't like essentially because I had ADHD. And so there is no separate program for that. If you have trouble like understanding things, they, or at least for the district that we went to, it was like you went into the IEP program.
Because it's very specific.
Right.
It doesn't say just English. It says something very specific, such as
English comprehension.
English reading comprehension.
Okay.
Or math, algebra, or geometry. It's a plan that's very specific to help the children, and then you have your rules. So if child A has an IEP and it's in reading, say we'll use yours, reading comprehension, they're going to get a little more time on tests because they probably have to read it a couple times and think about it for a minute before they understand the question completely.
Mm-hmm.
They're going to need a little more help reading book reports and those type things because they don't, it's going to take them quite longer to understand the books.
Okay, so I can definitely, like, now that you explain it, I can definitely see, like, thinking back for a little ways, I can definitely see where that's, like, taking place, or that did take place, but I definitely feel like
That's
least...
what you went to Sylvan Learning Center for.
Right. To help with that, because it was so...
comprehension.
Was it so bad that, like, even the school couldn't help with it?
No,
or?
I just wanted you to have extra help.
Oh, I didn't know if the school asked you to do that.
No,
Okay.
nobody asked us.
Okay. So, back to what I was saying. After that explanation, it does like show that there were situations where I guess I didn't even know that you could, because with that program you can just ask a teacher to have somebody read it to you, and there were several times where I feel like if I knew that I would have passed so many tests.
I think, okay, here's my, with the school district, we're not going to say,
Right.
With the school district that you were in, I would say that the teachers didn't communicate with the students very much about their IEPs.
Right.
The teachers didn't talk to, there was a meeting, you had a meeting every 6 months or every year, where you went over the plan, how much you achieved from the previous plan and what your goals are for the next, for this plan.
Okay.
And I don't think that the teachers fully, I don't know if they don't understand IEPs. I have a hard time believing that they don't, but
right. It could be it could be.
But they didn't access what they needed to get the kids help. They didn't fight for the kids with the IEPs. You just had it, and if you didn't know that you had the options you had until me and you had a conversation one day, and you were like, I can get what?
Right.
I was under the impression in the school's meetings that this is you and your counselor or whoever you met with for that IEP.
Oh, what was it? The plan holder or something? Yes. Like something like that, yeah.
That they went over that with you and told you what you had and what you were allowed to have and what, if you needed help, how to get it.
Right.
But apparently that didn't happen.
No, I don't think it was till high school that I realized that I could. I think it was high school or middle, like end of middle school, early high school, where like I fully realized, hey, you can go to blank or so-and-so's classroom and just have it read. Like you can just leave the classroom and go and get it read. And so I definitely would agree, because I didn't know half the stuff I could just like go and do. And it, like, now thinking back to that, I probably wouldn't have done as bad with a lot of different things if I had known this. And so I think that's at least, I don't know if that's with a lot of school districts, if that's a common thing, or if that's specifically the one that I went to, but I can agree. I don't think there was a lot of communication between the teacher and the student. And I think they relied a lot, at least the teachers who taught everybody relied heavily on the IEP teachers to like do that explaining.
Yes.
Rather than actually taking the student aside, because I remember as a student, I remember the main teacher more than I ever did the IEP teacher. Because I could tell you every single main teacher I had, I could not tell you every IEP teacher I had.
Yep.
Because they just weren't as prevalent there. So I feel like if it was said, even if it was said to me by the IEP teacher, I probably didn't take it like seriously because they were like second teacher. But my first teacher was the one I liked.
Right.
So it's like, as in my head, what I accumulated it to, like, as the first teacher, you should take that accountability and understand that, like, you are in charge of this classroom, and when somebody is assigned, like, to your classroom, whether they have an IEP or not, you should take, like, charge of that situation and make sure that they feel as welcome as somebody who doesn't have that IEP.
Now, if I heard you correctly, you want to discuss that certain snippet from a website, correct? Was that a podcast?
Yeah. That was a podcast. Yeah.
So you want to discuss this podcast? How do you feel about?
Honestly, when I first heard it, because I was at work and I was doing something that was super mundane, so I didn't earbud in, and I was listening to that video, not thinking that there was going to be anything that's crazy in this video. And when it really hit me that, like, because she does a really well explaining in the video that we watched, was like the layout of everything. And I think most videos that I've watched of her, she does very good at that. So she explains the IEP program, which some of the stuff in there I didn't even know, like, especially with a 504 plan. I only had an IEP, but I know there was people who had a 504. So, like, watching that video and them just saying DUMB, and the thing that really hit me was, like, the hardly IEP. Like, I was like, I didn't know it was some form of, like, percentage of how IEP you are. Like, it's not a...
It does have that as identification. It does have that a little bit.
Okay.
But it's meant as a tool for the teacher and the parent.
Right, not as a weapon for the teacher to use as an insult. Because in that sense, in the context that she's using it, it definitely feels like an insult. Like, it definitely has, like, the feeling of, like, oh, and they're barely on the spectrum, or they're barely on the IEP plan. And it's like, okay, that's not how that works. It's not, and you shouldn't be giving that information away. And the other teacher that I don't remember their exact names, and I don't want to really do that because I don't want people going and hating on them, because all of them did come through and apologize. I feel like only one of them did it correctly, but that is what it is. So the teacher who went and said the DUMB, it really hit me, because it was like, how many teachers did because I never fully understood really any situation up until, like, maybe 5th grade, maybe. And so how many teachers did that? How many teachers went behind my back without me knowing, ever? And I idolized a lot of my teachers. I really looked up to them. Well, not idolized. I looked up to them really, really highly. I don't think there was a single teacher that I didn't like. And so for that to be in the light, it's like, how many other teachers are doing that? Because that's not just a one-off thing. If one of them's doing it, a lot of other ones are doing it. It's...
Eli, how do you feel about this?
Honestly, when I heard that part of it, I felt insulted. I've been told, not physically told, but I've heard 2 times that the one time I was about in 3rd grade, and we had a school psychiatrist. I don't remember this person's name. This was a very older person.
Mm-hmm.
She sat down with my mom when they had the meeting, like you said earlier, that they have every year to go over the plan. And this is the one I only recall, is that I was told I wasn't gonna make it in life because I didn't understand what was going on. And flat out told my mother to her face, your son's not gonna make it in life. And I'm like, okay, well, it's terrible. I would never want to hear that from any kid.
I can't believe that
like,
that was even.
And here's the thing: my mom stood up and was about ready to sue the ever living crap out of that school.
Well, yeah.
Like, the ever living crap out of it. And the other one, I don't remember this, but I've been told a lot of times. I had a friend of mine who was in a wheelchair, and she had her own aide, And when I was in about this was about 4th, 5th grade, I actually because I knew a little bit how to read. I wasn't great at it, but I knew what I was doing. I would read to her, and that aide got so pissed off at me because I was taking over her job. I'm like, well, okay, well, I'm just helping.
I was gonna
You
say
know?
That seems like that would have been a win-win.
I was gonna say what? He's
Yeah.
getting practice reading, and she's
And he's taking initiative.
right. He's
Yeah.
taking
There's a
initiative.
bigger
That
picture to
I've-
that. He's taking initiative.
right.
Yeah, and I've been through an IEP since kindergarten. I realized that probably same time as Andrew, about 5th
I don't-
grade.
I don't know.
But I didn't take advantage of it until probably about my freshman year
Right.
ish.
Yep.
Of course, the cocky freshman, I don't need that. I realized I did need it. And I had a wonderful IEP teacher who probably would fight tooth and nail for me just to make sure I could pass high school. And I had an actual physical teacher too, because I got put in the special ed, not like, the special ed class, but like it's a different version of it, of a certain subject.
Right.
And at first I'm like, this feels embarrassing, but I passed flying colors because it was broken down so much easier, because my freshman year I bombed algebra. I got a 13% on my final exam because I didn't understand the material.
Right.
I didn't understand it. And I'm very thankful I have an IEP, but that I had one. But referring back to the clip that I saw, I was like, you can't say this to kids. Like, people on IEP are not. No teacher in their right mind should ever have to say that about a student. And if they do, they should lose their job immediately.
Yeah,
because that's
I don't
not
feel that
okay.
They have the passion for the job that you should if you're going to have a job that brings up our next generation of
Right.
leaders.
Right. And I 100% agree. I remember listening to the rest of the video. I don't think any of them lost their jobs, and I actually don't think any of them lost anything like within
Now,
their
I
field.
did find the one guy funny.
What's
the one
that?
that said that he loves looking at the parents and knowing the car ride's gonna be, because actually I've had that car ride, so it's funny because it happens. Kids lie, they
Right.
just do.
Right.
And
I was horrible
as
with
you
it.
grow up, they learn what the right and wrong is, and hopefully, you pray that they always pick to do the right. But and that one was funny because I know, even going to the parent teacher conference and you watch the parents coming out
Just
that
enraged.
was-
Yeah.
and they got their kid, they're just holding him by the back of his neck going,
Yeah.
go to the car, son.
Right. And I think the thing that people got upset about there was because he was using that in the context of someone with an IEP rather than somebody
Yeah.
who was. And I think
that was straight kid.
right. I also agree. In the context of straight kid, that is funny. In the context of somebody specifically with an IEP, that's screwed up.
No.
That is very messed up, and that should not be the way that it's
Yeah, I would
construed.
say that this podcast was probably an epic fail.
The episode got a lot of hate. Like I said, I think only one of them really apologized correctly. He came out after the podcast, after it got a bunch of backlash, and said, "Hey guys, I know I messed up. I'm not gonna speak for the other co-host. I'm not gonna speak for anyone. I just know I messed up, and this is something that I can learn from. And I'm going to actually take a back seat here, and I want you guys to teach me. I want to be the student. I'm not going to be Mr. Williams. I'm going to be I think that's what his name was, or whatever his name was. I know Mr. Williams because I watch a lot of his TikToks and he's really funny. But and so far that I've seen, he has not made a mistake like that again. And I think Mr. Williams is actually a genuinely good guy, and I don't think he had any ill intention. And he never actually said anything during that time period. He was just laughing. And he did the most mature reaction to that. The guy who actually said the DUMB comment, he did a lot of deflecting and blamed the editors, saying that they edited it in the context. It was a lot better than what it was, and the editors messed up on that.
But if you're gonna say it, it's out there for
Yeah,
anybody to do anything they want with it.
And you can't just go and say that, and like when you're a host on a podcast, you get to preview it before it goes out. Like I let Eli listen to the podcast before it ever goes out.
Yeah.
Right. So that's That's not something that's just like not unheard of. People listen to something that has their name on it. Like if you're going to use me as promotional, I want to hear it, preview it before it goes out, kind of thing. So if you
So if he let it out, he should have had rights to preview it. I
Right.
understand.
Yep.
But if he didn't, at the same point, you still opened your mouth and you made that statement, no matter what the context. I don't know a context that would have made that statement okay.
Right, especially with like, even if it wasn't referring to a kid with an IEP, saying dumb is just, especially as a teacher, you should understand how not okay that is.
But I'm gonna go play devil's advocate on one thing.
Mm-hmm.
He's a Gen Xer.
He's a Gen.
We are a raw group of people.
Yeah, that's fair. honest.
We were raised rough.
I want to check to see if he was. I want to be 100% like on that. Was it this guy who said it?
I
Yeah.
think so, yeah.
Okay. He probably is. Looking at him now that you say that, yeah, he does
He
look.
looks about my age.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, we were raised being called dumbasses and shitheads and all those bad words you're never supposed to say to your kids. We were raised that way.
Right.
Gen X, as they say, is the lost generation. We came about before there was daycare. Our moms were going to work because you needed the extra income, but the thing daycare wasn't there yet. There was no such thing. So
Right.
you always found a friend to babysit your kids, or if your kids were over the age of 10, they stayed home. And it made a really raw generation.
Right.
We're hardcore, we're hard knocks, but we work hard.
Right.
And we're good people. We just tend to open our mouth and insert foot because of the way we were raised. We got to remember that is not because our parents did it. It doesn't make it okay.
Right. And I love that you acknowledge that. That is actually really big because I think one thing that I would like to say about that, because I mean, it doesn't matter what generation you come from at the end of the day, like he shouldn't have said that. And he went through the proper training to become a teacher. And I feel like if you get to that point, at some point it's got to like click that, hey, that's not okay to say. And it's especially with being, I mean, he's clearly in the public eye. He's coming out as a guest in a podcast. So he's in the public eye enough. And he also issued an apology. So he's in the public eye enough to where he understands the culture that is school now. He understands what that looks like now. So I think I do acknowledge the fact that he is like in Gen X. But
I do like the fact that there's this area for teachers to come talk, and because to be honest, kids give out the best material.
Mm-hmm.
They are so honest and brutal. It is funny, and sometimes you just want to be there, have a conversation with somebody that is same profession, same career, and they get it.
Right.
I've
actually listened to the teachers off what is it? Oh my gosh, off book whatever. The teachers podcast. I've listened to that before, and it's actually really funny. I listened to it back when Miss Robinson and the other teacher was on there, and I can't remember her name, but I watched back then, so that was a couple of years ago when we went on that Florida trip. That's when I was listening to them last year. So yeah, I personally love the podcast, and to hear that or I loved the podcast, and to hear that it went to this direction upsets me a little bit, but I mean,
but everybody loves a comeback story.
That is true. All right, speaking of comeback stories, it's about damn time we talk about Lizzo and Jason Alden. Let's what one do we want to do? Do we want to dogpile on Lizzo or talk about the Jason Alden thing?
Let's do the Lizzo thing, because the Jason Alden that's gonna be a topic of conversation.
Okay. It's not gonna be like arguing. It's just gonna be like conversation.
Yes.
Right. And so that's
the Lizzo thing.
Let me.
I got my notes.
Okay. So let me actually see if I have my notes. Oh, notepad. Do I? No, not Spotify. No, I don't. I think it got completely removed,
All right.
completely deleted. It is what it is. All right. So, let's go to the top. I have a couple articles here on this Lizzo thing. And when I say dogpile, I mean we are literally going to beat the shit out of Lizzo because there's no way, and at all, that she's in the right in this situation.
No.
It's without question. Screen. What is that?
That looks like the outside door. Oh, there.
Oh, there we go. It was this.
Oh.
Okay, anyway. Do you want to go first? Do you want to introduce it?
Well, okay. So I read an article. So what I'm referencing is Rolling Stones magazine on the Lizzo lawsuit, dated August 1st, 2023.
Okay.
So it's talking about the three backup dancers that are accusing her of sexual harassment and creating a hostile work environment stemming from incidences that allegedly took place beginning in 2021 through 2023. It also follows their plaintiff's participation in a reality TV contest for an opportunity to join Lizzo as one of her dancers during performances and tours. From what I understand is that she created it was, from what I read, most of what this lawsuit pertains to is that Mrs. Quigley.
Yeah. Yep.
She is the one that seems to be doing the most damage when it comes to like daily. You know, when you go in, you know she's gonna harass you. The banana thing, masturbation thing.
I don't know that I seen that.
Was
Yeah, it's something.
It said that she would also had a party trick in which she would simulate oral sex on a banana in front of the rest of the dance cast.
What the hell?
Yeah.
What?
That's what the sexual harassment is.
I thought it was because she spread the word that one of her dancers was a virgin.
No.
That they anybody who wasn't a virgin, they ridiculed for having premarital sex. I don't think an employer has any right to have anything to do with them.
I mean, even Quigley's not even the employer.
Okay, first of all, you cannot have religion in a workplace.
Right.
If you do, it needs to be up front, and you have to say this. You know what? You're entering into a religious. This is our belief system, and if you don't believe this, then move on. You know, you have to at least lay out your beliefs for somebody.
Right.
This doesn't seem like this. There's even accusations of false imprisonment and interfering with prospective economic advantages, meaning she was blocking their chances for future money.
Right.
The false imprisonment is that she took said backup dancer into her room and they confiscated her phone and Lizzo searched through it.
Yes, because they recorded a meeting that Lizzo had for one of the employees that couldn't come in because she was sick.
Yeah.
Lizzo thought it was, what's that? Where you go undercover, going spy.
Espionage?
Yeah,
Spying
espionage.
on them,
Yeah, there you go, espionage. So Lizzo thought it was espionage. She screamed, yelled, took this girl's phone, went in the room, locked her in here, took her phone. They were ridiculed for body size,
which is crazy. Let me just pause real quick. That is crazy. For Lizzo?
Yeah.
Lizzo of all people. Like, and this is not saying anything at like body weight or anything like that. Lizzo is someone who constantly
promotes
body
positivity.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly. And so for her to do this completely goes against her brand. This goes against everything she's built. And honestly, the super Christian stuff surprises me almost the most because like Lizzo to me doesn't seem like somebody who would be okay with that.
Well, she also went to Amsterdam in 2023 and went to the red light district with some of the plaintiffs, where the lawsuit claims the group pressured Davis, one of these backup dancers, in attendance to touch one of the dancer's breasts against her will.
Yep.
Ariana Davis.
So what they did is that they peer pressured her into doing it.
That's crazy.
And there's another thing, disability discrimination. They kept making fun of her because that backup dancer had a lazy eye, and they kept making fun of her for it.
That's crazy.
And they said at one point the dancers were also re-auditioned after being accused of drinking before performances and not performing up to par.
Yeah.
She was so worried about being fired, she remained in brutal 8-hour rehearsals and ended up soiling herself. Despite the accident, the suit claims that she was required to finish the rehearsal.
Yep, that sounds about right.
So even after she crapped her pants, she had to keep dancing.
That's crazy. That's ridiculous. Because, I mean, this is what, like, looking at this perspective of, like, the dancing scene, this is it. This is like the NFL.
You're right.
This is it. And so when you're up at it, the highest, one of the highest places in your field, and getting treated like this, how hard did you work? How hard did these women work to get here? To go through that reality show, the stupid reality show, just to get body shamed, just to get racial harassment, false imprisonment, interference with prospective economic advantages, what is it? Hostile work environment, sexual harassment. Yeah. Religious.
List goes on.
It's like a scroll. And this is all Quigley. There are a few Lizzo things here and there. But Lizzo, okay. Quigley
She's
thing.
just trying to cover her ass.
Right. Lizzo's trying to cover her ass. And I actually have up here her response to it. But
Yeah,
that's.
I've seen it.
Well, let me see if I can
That's,
find the exact quote.
Mind you, this is it's a 44-page lawsuit.
Okay, here we go. These last few days have been gut-wrenchingly difficult and overwhelmingly disappointing. My work ethic, morals, and respectfulness have been questioned. My character has been criticized. Usually, I choose not to respond to false accusations, but these are unbelievable, as they sound too outrageous to not be addressed. These sensationalized stories are coming by former employees who have already publicly admitted that they were told their behavior on tour was inappropriate and unprofessional. Which is unbelievably crazy, because in the suit there's something about a Paris. They went to, after a Paris show, they went to
Amsterdam.
Was that Amsterdam?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Hold on. Let me get.
In February of 2023, the two plaintiffs were allegedly invited to a night out in the red light district where they, along with Lizzo, went to a strip club. There, the lawsuit claims that the group pressured Davis in attendance to touch one of the dancers' breasts against her will.
Oh, okay. Because here I have, like, I'm not, like, disagreeing with that, but, like, Lizzo had, quote, said this. They were able to, she wanted to take them invited them to a club so that they would be able to learn something or be inspired by the performance. Now, if I'm being very honest, when
Get you shit.
if you're at that level, and you're being told to be inspired and learn something from, and this is not being degrading, it's just from strippers.
But
'Cause that's
okay,
what they
I
are.
can see where
Exotic
that
dancers.
would be. I can honestly see where there's value in that.
Yeah?
There's actually an entire workout regiment on a bar.
Right.
Where you do an entire stripper act. They teach you to be a stripper, and that's the workout. So I see that. The part that the problem is says the suit says what Lizzo failed to mention when inviting the dancers to this performance was that it was a nude cabaret bar.
Yeah, that's.
Okay.
So they thought they were going to a club to watch dancers.
Like just people who are clothed.
Yes.
That's from what
Right.
I understand. Or maybe in, like, shirt, bra and,
Right.
Yeah.
but something
Like with-
skimpy, sexy.
Right. Not
Did
nude.
not, okay, it is not professional in any way to bring employees to a strip club.
Right. And so that's what I was meaning in the context of it being a strip club, for her to say to be inspired and to be like, to learn something from that performance. I think it's a little crazy.
Well, you can learn from it, but when you're pressuring somebody to touch a breast,
That is worse.
there's no inspiration there.
Right. There is. It's like, feel the titty. No. There's
No.
There's nothing.
Nothing there.
Let's see. So I want to see if, because this is like a one-off for each of them. So that was our Ariana Davis, and then this one is Noel Rodriguez. I want to say. Okay. No, it was down here. This is okay. So this is the religious harassment allegation is connected to Quigley, the dance captain, who also worked as a judge on Lizzo's reality TV show. According to the suit, she preached her Christian beliefs and took every opportunity to proselytize and to any in all her presence, regardless of the pretensions or protestations.
Protestations, yes.
Okay.
People protesting.
Okay.
Yeah.
After discovering that Davis was a virgin, Quigley discussed the subject in interviews and posted about it on social media, the suit says. And when the cast members asked her to stop pursuing Rodriguez, whom Quigley regarded as a non-believer, according to the suit, about her faith, Quigley responded, "No job and no one will stop me from talking about the Lord." Now, using God as a Christian, using God as a vessel to harass people is not okay. Like, that is what you're doing. You're using God and you're using the Lord as a vessel to harass somebody about their sexual decisions.
And that's not allowed in the workplace either. We have laws against that.
Right. And so, that's just crazy. Quigley 100% should be fired by the end
Well,
of this.
there's other people that have made comments on Lizzo's behavior.
Right. Oh,
There's a woman that
you told me about that. I know what you're talking about.
Sophia Nalia Allison claims she has firsthand experience in an alleged extremely toxic and hostile working environment created by the pop sensation Lizzo. Those are the backup dancers. She said that she's a narcissistic bully who has built her brand off lies.
Yep.
And Eli does not like Lizzo from the start. I did not have a problem with her.
I had no opinion of her. I didn't really listen to her music. I might have heard a song or two, and I think I liked them. But I'm not either way.
I was definitely on so where Eli was super negative against Lizzo, I wasn't on the opposite spectrum, but I was more positive. I liked her music. I thought the body positivity was awesome. Cool. Go you. But when this comes out, that completely switches me all the way to where Eli is now. Because I do believe this, and I do, Lizzo has said nothing but, believe me, bro, I didn't do it, kind of thing. She has nothing. She doesn't have anything. And to be honest, these are just, you could chalk these things up to hearsay, but I have a tendency to shift towards the victims with how many victims there are. And especially with somebody who has no skin in the game,
the producer of the TV show?
Yeah, the producer of the TV show has no skin in the game. She would actually make more money if she dealt with Lizzo. If Lizzo didn't have this problem.
She was the director of Love Lizzo.
Right.
And after only 2 weeks, she was treated with such disrespect, she left.
Right. So she had nothing but she probably would have wanted that to do better. She's more towards I want Lizzo to succeed. I want it to not be a toxic.
She was excited to get this job.
Right. So for her to come out with this stuff, it doesn't look good. It really doesn't look good.
Jason Aldean.
Yeah. So let's go on to Jason Aldean. This one will definitely be
an interesting one.
So, dicey.
I'll explain it, and then Eli, I want you to go into what you had discovered when you talked to me about.
Yeah.
Because I thought that changed my perspective on it. Well, actually, hold on. What we'll do is we'll each go around and telling our opinions of just the song and what not the music, but just listening to the lyrics and looking at the music video without the context of what Eli is going to tell us. Do you want to start, or do you want me to start, or do you want to start, Eli?
I don't care.
We'll have him start with the context.
Well, it would actually be better for us to just talk about how we felt before the context.
All right, I live in a small town. I was born in a small town. The daughter of a farmer in a small town. I've never seen anybody start rioting in the streets in all my life. I've never seen people destroy their own property. But I have also never been discriminated against to the level that these people have and had the frustration of.
Right.
Okay, I completely 100% understand their frustration. I don't agree with the way they express that frustration.
Right.
There are peacefuler ways to do it.
Right. They did damage to more people. They took their pain and they handed it to somebody else.
Right.
And it doesn't even, I mean, they just doubled the pain.
Right.
Because now they gave somebody else the pain too. And it's a spiral. It's a spiral of hate, and it won't.
Fueled by hate. Only hate.
It's fueled by hate.
Right. Fear and hate.
Fear and hate. If we do not give each other grace in this world, how do we expect to get it in the afterlife?
Right, exactly. And I mean, even if you just looked at it like, actually, let me go into how I felt about it, because when I initially listened to it, I was on the same side as my mom. I was like, I live in a small town. I grew up in a small town. I get that. I've never seen anyone burn a flag, stomp on it. If I did, I would feel very uncomfortable, and I wouldn't like. I've never seen people loot and riot in our town. And so, for what Jason said, I 100% was like, yeah, if you tried doing that in a small town, you'd probably get beat the hell out of. So, looking at the lyrics, because I went deep into this, not as deep as Eli, because Eli went way deep. I went deep into it. So, I started looking at the lyrics, looking at individual words, looking at, like, the music video. I didn't go deep into the music video, but I went into the lyrics, because I thought the song was what was the problem. And looking at the song, there was nothing wrong. There honestly wasn't. It was just telling facts. It was like, you try this in a small town, you're gonna get shot. Like, you're gonna get beat up. It's not just black people. And even in the music video,
small towns in general, it doesn't matter the color of your skin, the race, your ethnicity. It's if you have this small, tight community, they're going to be there for each other.
right.
Our community will be there for each other.
And that's what he's saying.
And
that's what
in deaths of students, we rally to each other to be there for your pain and to share your sorrow with you. I'm not ever going to say that that's a bad thing.
Mm-mm. No. And one thing that I would like to acknowledge is even I don't like the song in the sense of I don't like country music. I'm not a big fan of country music. There's like a handful that I love, but this is just a song that musically I don't like. It's fueled by. I think it's so fueled, like it with the context that Eli gives. I think it's super fueled by hate. But his song that came out after this, though, it's completely fueled by hate. He says fuck everybody. He says fuck Snuffleupagus from Sesame Street. And my biggest
has nothing to do with
I was going to say, what did my boy Snuffleupagus do?
Snuffleupagus has nothing to do with this.
Right. But he did say fuck CMT, fuck Netflix, fuck Ford, fuck Bud Light.
Well, he said fuck CMT because CMT pulled his shit.
Right, yeah.
Right. And Jason Alden, though, got to be where he is by those kind of songs. He didn't change who he was. There's this old adage that says, when somebody tells you who they are or shows you who they are, believe them. Mm-hmm. He has shown time and time again that he's all about country. He was born in Macon, Georgia. That is the deepest part of you're in the country.
Right.
He probably grew up in that kind of a neighborhood. And to be honest, for somebody, again, I'm gonna go the Gen X. We're a different group of people. We stand up for what we stand for what we believe in. We will stand for what we believe in. Now, this fueled hate that the video is portraying, I think maybe his pictures and the videos he was showing maybe should have been more about how they rallied together in a small town with little snippets about, look at this is what hate does.
Right.
You know, and then kind of compared it and showed, hey, look, you know, this is what a small town is capable of,
Right.
and this is what you're gonna get if you mess around with us.
Right, and I 100% agree, because I didn't even think about it like that till you just said that. His video is, like, when you look at the music video, it has a lot, and I mean a lot of the rioting and a lot of the looting and the burning of the flag. It's like, if you showed more of the small town, more of the positivity, you would get a different reaction. I don't think that's all, it would completely flip it, but I feel like it would turn some people almost on
I
their
just
head
think
in
that
that way.
he lost an opportunity to show what a small town can be capable of.
Right.
You know, yeah, small towns can do some amazing things.
Right. Okay. Did you want to talk about how you felt about the song, or
Yeah.
did you? Okay. Yep.
That's all in one. So, in my opinion, I felt it was kind of racist. I was uncomfortable when I listened to it. I'm like, okay, this is not okay. First off, in my personal opinion, Jason Alden is a racist. In 2015, he was caught doing blackface, and he had blackface all over his face. He had fake dreadlocks in because he was portraying Lil Wayne, and I'm like, that's not okay. You shouldn't be doing this. In the on the lyrical side, listening to the first chunk, saying like sucker punch somebody on a sidewalk, carjack an old lady, pull a gun on the owner of a liquor store, cuss out a cop. What I've heard,
Oh, hold on. I actually have a picture of the blackface
yeah, that right there, that's Jason Alden
doing some form
doing
of blackface.
some form of blackface.
And this
No way.
is probably a Halloween, I'm guessing.
Yep, but still,
Halloween costume, and I do agree, but still, that is still like
You
he was
gotta put it
portraying
in context, though, that
Right.
it was a dumb Halloween costume.
Very,
not
very
as
dumb.
He dressed in this and rioted the streets.
I would have a little more sympathy if it was something that happened like 30 years ago.
you're right. But this
It's
happened 6 years.
2015. Like,
Yeah.
this is when it was big to not do this. He did it, and it was like, I understand the contrarian like point of view, but
You
that's
gotta go again. That was
Yeah.
something there was on TV when we were kids. You know,
Right.
not so much when because I'm way too young for that. But
And I get that point. Yes, that was a thing because they didn't know how to portray that.
exactly. So that was again a white ignorance thing.
Yes,
You know,
yes.
I agree with that 100%. That was definitely a white ignorance thing. But it was how I really have had to work hard as a mother to learn how to accept new beliefs that maybe I wasn't brought up with.
right.
Right.
And if I'm being very honest, I'm very proud. I'm so unbelievably proud.
It stems from my beliefs in religion. When you find a home in a church or with a community, you know, it doesn't always if you don't believe in church, whatever, you have your own.
Right.
When you find that sense of community that Jason Aldean actually was,
Right.
you become a stronger person and you open up. There are some people that are not willing to accept the changes. These come from a harder background of families. Usually people like, and I don't know anything about Jason Aldean's family, his parents, you know, but usually that comes from something like a strict military background, an old Southern traditional background. Those kids tend to be harder with their left-wing thoughts,
Right.
and they're more
Right.
willing to push them on you because it was pushed on them.
Okay.
Yeah.
So do you want to go back to the context?
So I'm listening through the lyrics about sucker punching somebody on the sidewalk, carjacking an old lady, pull a gun on a liquor store, and cussing out a cop, spit on his face. What I heard is why people think that part's racist, which I a little bit agree, but also you shouldn't do this in general because it's a black stereotype.
Right, but I think the racist part is them saying that is a black crime.
Yes.
Right,
I've heard
so-
people say that, and I'm like, okay, no.
What's a black crime?
Like the
like
spitting on.
spitting on cops, stealing from somebody's liquor store, punching an old lady.
Oh, that's just as, I mean, okay, don't get me wrong. You are just as likely for a white person to do that as a black
Right.
person.
Right.
It stems
not a
from
black
one
crime.
thing: hate
In fear.
and fear.
Yeah,
Yes, it comes from hate and fear. It's anybody is capable of doing some very horrific things in the right set of circumstances.
Right. Sorry, just to like reiterate, the stating that this is stereotypically a black crime is racist.
Yes.
Yes,
Because
it
you're
is.
putting black people under this stereotype that these are your crimes and these are my crimes.
Yeah.
I can only commit loitering, littering, and whatever a white person can do. But black people can commit XYZ, whatever.
Yeah.
That is racist.
So the next part about burning the flag. Okay, yes, I understand that is disrespectful, but it's not against the law. It was actually written in our freedom of our rights to burn the flag if you want.
Right.
Do I think it's disrespectful? Absolutely.
Right.
I think it's
110%.
disrespectful to the military and the people that stand up for that right.
Exactly.
In the
But
history
if you
of the
ask
flag.
a true American soldier, he will tell you, as much as I don't like it, I fight for your right to be able
Yeah.
to be somebody who burns a
And-
flag.
A prick. Yeah.
Yeah, but
yeah.
like I said, going back to last night, people and my friend said, "Oh no, if you burn the flag, get the fuck out of the country." I'm like, no, that's a right to have.
You can't, you have to, if you want those rights, if you want rights as a human being, you have to accept the good with the bad.
Yeah.
There is always evil where there is good. And you have to accept the good with the bad. Try to
Right.
change the bad. You know,
Yeah.
if it's something you can't live with, try to change it to make it better. Maybe you can affect law and change and reform.
Yeah.
But I think that also goes into like other things where it's like, if you want to fight for rights, you fight for all of them. If you want to fight for against rights, you fight for against rights. You can I mean, you can have a different opinion. You can flip flop. It's just super contradictory. It's very contradictory, and as long as you acknowledge that, it's
I don't identify with any political
right. Right.
label.
Yes.
I am anti-asshole.
Right. I can definitely agree. I am not.
If you cannot look past your nose to spite your face, I cannot have a conversation with you.
Nope. Okay. Do you want to?
Yeah. So now I turned to the music video and I did a little digging on this. And oh boy, this is something. In the music video, there is a courthouse that Alden films in front of. I did some research, and that courthouse in 1947 was where a race riot was held.
27.
Oh, 27, excuse me. 1927, that's where a race riot was held. And I'm like, yeah, that's one
And a
strike.
young man.
And in 1947, or same year, a young man was murdered because he was accused of attacking a white woman.
And later, that white woman did come out. Actually, I want to say it was a couple years ago, saying
Yes.
that it wasn't.
No,
he just-
this is not. This is a different dude. This is not who you're talking about.
Yeah,
This is somebody else. That's Emmett Till.
right. Isn't that the same guy?
No, this is somebody else. This is somebody else completely. This is
this
Henry
is
something.
Henry
yeah.
Coit,
Oh.
an 18-year-old black man was
Yep.
hanged outside the Maury County Courthouse in Tennessee in 1927 after being falsely accused of attacking a white girl.
Yep.
Okay. Yeah, you're right. That
And
I
that
did think
same
about it,
courthouse
so.
is where he filmed in front of, and I'm like, okay, yeah, no.
I think that was tacky.
I think I think
that
was
made
a
me
very-
uncomfortable.
That
I'm
was like a. That was like a.
yeah.
Like
When
without.
you're adding it to the images of the riots and
Yeah.
you're kind of like attaching it to it, and it kind of multiplies it, in my opinion.
Right.
Yeah.
You did not do any like with this song. You did no right to the people that you were trying to make. You were like, and the idea of the song is amazing. You're promoting a small town. You're promoting like
We
all
take care of
community.
each other.
Right. But in the
Neighborhood watch.
right, in the execution of it, you made it about your agenda.
No. They're like including the Black Lives Matter riots. I think that was a little much.
Yeah.
Yes.
And I'm like, okay, look, were the riots terrible? Absolutely. I don't think that was appropriate at all to happen.
I think it framed it to be more hate.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
But
it
you
was
gotta-
hate on hate crime.
But there's the other side of the BLM movement where people just simply protested. They didn't riot. They didn't do
Peacefully.
anything.
Yes. And those should have been highlighted. If you were going to go the bad, you need to add the good.
Right.
Right.
There were communities of all races and religions that back each other.
Mhm.
You know, and I'm never gonna dog anybody for that. I'm never
Right.
gonna have a comment about anybody for that in the bad way, because we cannot walk through this world alone.
Right.
Yeah.
And that I 100% like. It's something I heard that like it means I agree.
Yeah. So
I don't know.
what I like to
It's a
do,
movie.
what I'm
Is it-
comparing here, it's kind of what he was going on. The right message done the wrong way. It's the same thing how Sound of Freedom was made. Right message, the
Right.
wrong way.
Right. Sound of Freedom was really weird. I watched that movie and it was so difficult. I actually there were several times where I felt like I needed to leave the movie because
Yeah,
it got so bad.
And then I also found out the producer and the co-founder were just recently prisoned for child endangerment and kidnapping.
Yes.
And I'm like,
That's crazy.
that's just the big FU.
That's just and like I 100% agree. Right idea, wrong
Yeah, 'cause
execution.
the story
wrong
that
people.
happened in the movie, it was fabricated.
You're right, because it wasn't that bad.
It was loosely based on one, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, but it
something
They
that
stated
happened.
the
loosely-
scenario was made up.
Right, and there was a whole like second hour, like third act to the movie.
Is this the one that talks about child
Yeah,
trafficking?
Yes. Yep.
Okay, I think this message needs to get out. I think it's
Yes.
the hardest freaking message to ever sit through and listen through.
Yeah.
I've been in a situation where a child was abused in an extremely profound way, and I can't. The pain of that never goes away.
Right.
It doesn't go away for the parent, and it doesn't go away for the child. So I just think that we need to do better as humans.
Yeah.
That's
Right.
my
Right.
whole thing.
better.
Do better as humans. You
And
know,
just
we
be
talked about
kind to
three.
people. That too.
We have
Right.
3 people who have a huge platform and can affect change: Jason Alden, Lizzo, and the podcast,
And the Sound of Freedom.
and the Sound of Freedom. I think that you have to watch that movie, and you have to understand and be aware.
Absolutely.
There has to be a way that I think it's completely unacceptable that these girls are girls and boys are trafficked
Right.
for the amusement of another human being.
Yeah.
Right. And that is literally the bare bones down to it. Back to what I was saying about the movie though, was the first there's like 3 acts to it. The first act, it's kind of fabricated. No, it's mostly fabricated. Second act, it's the most accurate of all of the acts. And then the third act is some load of shit that they pulled out of their ass, because he goes on like this extra trip to save this specific girl. That never happens. He doesn't do that. Why are you doing this? And it pats the runtime is what it does.
Yeah.
So it feels like you added more drama and trauma to a situation that didn't need more drama or trauma.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like I said, I think it should have been done a way better way.
Yep.
Because what Mom said.
I think that it has to come out. I've never seen the movie, okay? So I'm not going to give any kind of musical or movie critic here, or critique it in any way. But I think that we have to accept that these things are happening, and then every single one of us needs to be paying attention to things that just don't seem right.
Yeah.
Right.
Ask a girl if she needs help.
But
Or like get onto like, I guess there's like, I guess for bartenders there's one where I think it's angel shot or angel. That means like, hey, this guy's harassing me, or this guy is like doing.
But you have to make sure you get this message out to the victims, not the
Right. Right.
not their the pedophile.
Right. Perpetrator.
Yeah.
All right. So, I thank you guys so much for watching. If you guys did enjoy, please like, subscribe, follow, do all that funny stuff.
5-star review.
5-star review if that is a thing on any platform anymore. Is it?
Apple.
Is it? Okay. All right. Okay. Thank you guys for watching, and peace.